Live from a bunker in the heart of the Ozarks, a podcast that hopes you'll listen even though Michael Keaton isn't showing up. It's Sip Pop. Welcome to Sip Pop Weekly, streaming live most Fridays, or available to download later in your podcast feed, unless, of course, you're a patron.
Patrons get perks!
Patrons get those perks!
We have an IMDb.
I'm your host, Aaron Dicer, and he looks cooler running than Tom Cruise. It's Andrew Ormsby, ladies and gentlemen.
That is impossible, but ahoy!
Each week we'll chat about movies, TV, and whatever else from the pop culture universe is on our minds. And please welcome our other guest this week. You want hot takes? He's got 20. It's John Paula, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. Good to be back. Excited to talk box office because I'm a little bit obsessed with numbers and predicting things. So buckle up. This will be fun.
And please welcome our second guest this week. She is here all the way from Australia to throw another vote on the Barbie. It's Alice!
Oh dear, oh dear.
Our folks listening at home couldn't see my eyes roll, but if you were watching live...
Listen, that was a top-notch pun right there. That's the good stuff right there.
Look, you didn't say shrimp on the Barbie, so I'll call that a win. Because we do call it a Barbie, but we do not call prawns shrimp. I need that. This is a PSA. We call them prawns. No Australians ever called it a shrimp. There.
Well, shrimp wouldn't have made sense in regards to the movie, so I had to make it in regards to Barbie the movie. So
it's
nicely,
all good.
So.
And now you're all educated.
Now I'm glad. I feel much smarter now, and I will never say shrimp again in Australia.
Good.
Next time I'm visiting.
Yeah.
Guys, it is so cool to have a 4-person show today. Like this is fun. I'm glad to have you guys here. We talked a little bit on the pre-show about some of the history of. Actually, I don't know that that's on the pre-show. We talked a little bit on the pre-show about that stuff. So maybe Phil will include that at the end of some outtakes or something. But it's been interesting just kind of to think back at how long we've been doing this, and you guys are often on the show, and I'm so very thankful for that. We have a special episode today. We're doing the summer Some Game picks today, and so I thought it might be fun to get a few voices in here and to get a few predictions. And this, of course, commits you to September to come back and to see how we did and who won the battle between us. So I'm looking forward to it as well. Now, if you want to play the Summer Sum Game and you downloaded this podcast the day it came out, you have 2 days.
Oh.
So your time is running out. I would recommend right now pausing this podcast, or if you can, multitask, going online right now to sifpop.com, clicking on Summer Sum Game, and getting your picks in so you can play against us. Excited to see those. I think we've got about 30 people who have made picks so far. So if you want to join in and see how you can stack up against the rest of us, that would be a lot of fun. But again, has to happen immediately because it does close Wednesday before Guardians of the Galaxy 3 comes out next week. So, or as you're listening to it, if you're not watching live this week. Okay, here's how this is going to work. We will get right into it, guys. We have each picked our top 10 domestic earners for summer 2023. That calendar goes from the first weekend of May to the first weekend of September. It includes all the money made by movies that come out the first weekend of May. So if they make some on Thursday previews or whatever, that goes into the total as well. And then it goes all the way through Labor Day in September, that Monday.
That's when you stop counting. And that's, I think,
Correct.
An important distinction from how box office is typically tallied, which is
Right.
You normally count anything the movie earns in its lifetime is counted when it came out. So even if a movie comes out, it would be a bad idea, for example, to pick a movie that came out on August 30th because you'll only have the first week of its
Correct.
total inclusion.
Unless
You don't know my strategy.
Unless you think it's going to make $150 million opening weekend or whatever the case may be.
It could.
Avengers Endgame 2
Come on, Asteroid City.
Alice is like, can I redo my picks a little bit?
Come
I just
on,
want it
Asteroid
out there.
City.
I said this in a little bit before, but for the listeners now, this is slightly rigged, and I feel like I'm here just so that Andrew doesn't lose again. Because as an Australian, the domestic understanding of this is just so far out of my purview. And so I have to think on a completely I can't think as myself. I have to think as an American. That's completely different to me.
It's easy. Just be stupider. We're a simple folk.
I'm glad I could be everybody's punching bag for the day.
So yes, historically Andrew has not done well in this game, but that's okay.
But this year's so different because I have a new strategy that is going to guarantee me a win.
All right. So we will go through our top 10, and then we each have 3 wild cards we get to pick in case something comes that we weren't expecting into the top 10. Those are worth 1 point. The points are 10 points for an exact correct answer, 7 points if you're 1 off, 6 points if you're 2 off, 5 points if you're 3 off, so on and so forth.
And you're referring to the ranking. So if I predict
correct.
the 3rd highest grosser in the 3rd spot, I get a perfect 10.
Yeah.
Correct.
Otherwise, the further away you are. So you can get all 10 picks correct, but all 10 in an incorrect order. And that would still probably do pretty well.
You know, we had an interesting conversation when we were setting this up because we could have allowed people to pick the same movie in multiple spots. And then we chatted about, what's the strategy there? And the top 10 strategy, we're like, that's actually okay. If you want to risk that and say, put the same movie in a couple different slots because you think you're more determined, that might work. But when you get to the wild cards, it doesn't work because then you just put the movie you think you're going to make the most in all 3 wild cards and you get 3 automatic points and then it just messes things up. So yeah, it has to be different movies in each slot. The way it's set up now. But we'll go in order, starting at the top. We don't usually do this. Usually we count our way down to number 1, but we're going to start with number 1 because honestly, with something like this, I think the more interesting conversations happen the further you get away from number 1.
I'm less confident the further we go, for sure.
Yeah.
Spots 8 through 14 are like, I don't know, it could be anything. But the top 3, I'm more confident in where they're going to place and how much they're going to make.
Oh, did so you have like actual number predictions?
When I went through and did my research this week and put together my little cheat sheet spreadsheet for tonight's show, I did come up with some estimates, which I will be sharing as we go here.
Nice.
See how far off. If you want to listen to this episode in September, you can laugh at how bad I did, I suppose.
So, do we just hand John the win now, or do we wait till September?
No, truthfully, I've never actually predicted. I've never done this, so deliberately before. So we'll see. I could be way off.
Technically, I didn't even make my list.
It's true. Technically, I just sent Andrew's list to him.
No, what I mean by that is I'm not the one who came up with my list.
You borrowed it from like a Variety Fair article.
Did you use ChatGPT, Andrew?
I used ChatGPT. I created an algorithm that has tested, variables such as,
Isn't
like
that cheating? I gotta feel like that's cheating.
Is it cheating? Because if it is right and I win the whole thing, then you can make the argument, yeah, Andrew, you didn't win, but in my heart, I'm going to say that I win. And if I lose, if it is totally garbage and I go, that's all right, I didn't make the list. I can't lose. I can't lose.
I think that's fair play. If you want to throw away your only submission into the hands of AI, I think you're allowed to do that.
And by the way, I don't want you guys to think that this took me like 15 minutes or less. It took me days to create this algorithm to where it would, process, now make sure that you cut off your domestic earnings by this date. The money doesn't continue. So it took a while to teach it. So I had to teach it all these different parameters for our game.
Well, I have bad news for you. If your entries lose, you do still lose, Andrew. But if your entries win, you do still win. And I have no problem with you using ChatGPT. I asked ChatGPT who I was, and it said I wrote some book that doesn't even exist. So I don't put a lot of faith in ChatGPT.
Also, a third good news is if This does absolutely garbage. That should comfort you all in knowing that Skynet is still that far away.
But
Yeah,
then
I'm
if you
not-
do amazing, then it won't comfort us, Andrew.
Yeah,
and
that's
you
going to freak
just-
us out. If
Yeah.
your list is correct, it's going to be concerning.
Well, then the entire process of being a film critic is at jeopardy at that point because objectivity is predictable.
You joke about that, but I actually had it write a review for me a month ago on Letterboxd, and I just told it. Here's when the movie. I just told it, write me a review of the movie 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy, and here's what I thought. I just gave it like 3 adjectives, and it wrote 500 words, and I was like, yeah, I could endorse this. It's close enough to what I thought. It's taking some like really broad generalizations, like it had action and a good mix of humor. I'm like, that's really lazy, but yes, untrue.
The fact that Alice knew exactly, like as soon as I said I have a surefire one, she's like, "Did you use ChatGPT?" I'm like,
Well, it's
wow,
a big
you figured
topic.
me out. If you figured me out that quick.
Yeah, it's a big topic in my house because my partner, he's a software developer and he uses ChatGPT at work to do coding, and he's gotten his work to pay for premium. So I've been hearing about this bloody AI for months now, way longer before it started being, as famous as it was. And then all of a sudden everyone started talking about it, and I was like, oh gosh, it's happening. So
Yeah. I know we need to jump into this, but I love what Jay Bourgeois said in the comments, and that this right here is going to be the downfall of civilization. My creating this app to predict domestic earnings from movies.
Well, because what's going to happen is
catalyst for Skynet.
some Hollywood execubot is going to hear about this and be like, wait a minute, we have a surefire way to predict what print as many
Exactly.
Super Mario movies as we can.
Oh,
if I get a
it's gonna be
royalty,
the death of art.
I'll
Yeah.
take a royalty on that. All right, sorry, Aaron.
No,
I
that
hijacked it.
it's all good. I'm just if we are the cause of the downfall of civilization, at least we'll have a Wikipedia page at that point.
yeah, but no one will read it. Everyone will be dead.
Yeah, but it'll be there.
ChatGPT
It'll
will
be there.
read it to you.
Somebody who knows how to do Wikipedia, just go do like a ChatGPT Wikipedia. Ask it to write the Wikipedia page and just cut and
There you
paste it
go.
on there. All right, let's get into this. We will go from number 1 to number 10. Alice, you are going to kick us off. What do you think will
Okay.
make the most money in the summer of 2023?
Look, I didn't do a lot of I didn't use AI, and I didn't do a bunch of research. I just went with my gut and the heart of the cards here. So I wrote my list and I was like, this'll do, because I was like, I have to believe in myself, and that's what matters. So all of that, I'm sticking to this because the others performed really well domestically. I'm going Guardians 3. I really do think it has. I know that there's others which maybe Americans might respond to more, but I really do think there is a lot of chance here because it's the last of a trilogy. They are telegraphing so much that Rocket's gonna die, or it's
What?
a double bluff. I mean,
Oh,
What?
no, Aaron, they're telegraphing the crap that's at
It's
least
not even
one
in
or
the
two.
trailers.
Rats?
But he
it's
doesn't
not
watch
even the
trailers.
trailers. It's not
No,
the
it's
trailers,
not. It's
though.
not even in the trailers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the marketing and everything.
It's the posters. Like,
yeah.
that's-
Rocket's
where I
not
was
in
like-
anything.
Yeah. No, he's too much in everything. Like, did you see the one where it was his eye? Like, it was literally
crying.
just a picture of like Rocket's face here, and then his eye tearing up, and then in the reflection is like the Guardians, like his family or
No, but that
whatever. And I
sounds
was
cool.
like,
I feel sorry. I think you may have just spoiled the movie for Aaron, though.
I'm
I mean,
so
I don't know. I
sad
haven't seen it.
now.
I haven't seen it. But anyway, the point is, it's like, it's telegraphing big emotions. It's the last
Yeah.
Guardians movie, and it's also James Gunn's big hoorah before he becomes the Kevin Feige of DC. And it's introducing Adam Warlock. Like, there's just...
Do we
And
think
apparently
there's-
it's about...
Adam Warlock? What is
Okay,
going
Aaron.
on?
And you have no idea who Adam Warlock is. Now you're just making Alice feel bad for no reason.
That was announced in the news.
You know what, Aaron? I will give you $100 if in the next 3 seconds you can tell me who Adam Warlock is. One,
Clearly
two,
it's
three.
Wanda Maximoff's dad.
Yes. Actually, do you know who Wanda Maximoff's dad is?
Quicksilver?
Magneto.
Quicksilver's
Quicksilver's her
her
brother.
Brother, that's
Oh,
what that
come
family
on,
is.
Aaron.
Magneto's
Anyway.
their dad. Yeah.
Anyway, so yes, that's why.
Guardians 3 is a fine pick for number one. I'm just gonna keep moving the ball along here, but it's the wrong guess because The Little Mermaid is going to make more money
Wow.
than anything else this year.
That's an insanely confident pick that you just threw out there.
I not only think it's going to be the number one movie this summer, I think it's going to be the number one movie this summer by 50 million or more.
No.
Aladdin, Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, these all made like $1 billion, like 60 or 70% of which was domestic. These movies put up huge numbers. Little Mermaid has a 4-quadrant appeal. Millennials like myself are going to take our kids. That's a $50 ticket right there between the two kids and my wife. Like, this movie is going to make so much money. All of the woke nonsense controversy around the casting notwithstanding. I feel really confident, actually, this will be number one. And if I'm completely wrong, I would actually love that too. I love being proven wrong, especially when it's
I love when movies don't make money.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm personally like super excited for this, but I have a 5-year-old daughter, and I'm definitely going to take her to this, and she's probably going to love it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why ChatGPT didn't put it that high on my list. Maybe it's because, and just guessing here, do you think that woke like backlash is going to have any effect at all on the box office?
Not at all. I mean, we had the same.
I know it's stupid
before Captain Marvel came out, and that made like $1.5 billion or whatever. This is the only movie of my 13 picks that I have grossing over 400 million domestic, which is to the tune of Mario for comparison. Like that would be a big hit if it passed 400 million domestic.
Right.
And I think it's the only one that can do it, truthfully.
Andrew, what do you quote unquote you have at number one, and why did quote unquote you pick it?
Obviously, the number one movie this year is going to be Fast 10.
What?
Oh, interesting.
Domestically?
Domestic.
Now,
It's
worldwide,
just so
it
wrong.
might compete. Yeah,
so
that's
very
interesting.
wrong.
All right, okay.
There's no way.
That's so wrong. Oh my god, what algorithm did you do?
It used the I think a lot of the ChatGPT algorithm is based not only on like a past film, how past films performed, but it also looks at cast. And this one has like, Vin Diesel, Jason Momoa, John
Cena. It's the biggest
Cena.
cast of anybody, sure.
Yeah, and I think that's really what it's taking into account. Also, it's Fast 10. And those movies, as much as I hate them, I'm sorry, I hate telling that, John. I know you love them to death, and Aaron, you like them too.
I do. I'll be back next month to review.
I hate these movies. So I want you to know how much it pained me that I went ahead and I left it there on.
Well, if it makes you feel better, it'll certainly bet anything you want that it'll not be the number one domestic grosser. Like, I would put the house on that. It just
Andrew, we were meant to start with number one.
You put The Little Mermaid at number one. So
we'll see.
Actually,
I'm not as confident about that.
We were meant to start with our number one pick, not our number
two.
Yeah.
Equalizer 3.
No. Listen. I will just say, if we had done this last year and somebody had put Top Gun Maverick at number one, we would have had the same reaction. Like,
I might have put it at number 1 or 2 if we had this chat. I really thought that would do well. I didn't think it would do that well.
I'm just saying anything can happen. Now, I think it lost its chance to compete on this list when it refused to name itself Fast 10 Your Seatbelts. That's
hard agree.
That's when it lost.
Tagline, though, right?
That's when it lost. My number one is one of your 3 number ones. It is Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I think it is poised to kick off the summer big. Mario's had its time, and there's nothing coming for a little bit. It has the whole summer to make money. I think Guardians 3 is poised to be the number one for the summer.
Solid pick.
Yeah, I think that's where we're at.
Alice, I got a question for you real quick before you do your number 2. Do you know, and if you don't know, obviously it's not a big deal, but do you know like how close the Australian market is like when it is compares to like the American market for domestic earnings? Like, do you
The
think the Australians care or like the same movies and stuff like that, or?
The Australians market is not. I will say this: things that might have more of a military indication towards it certainly don't perform nearly as well in Australia as it does in America.
Like American Sniper did not do well there.
Yeah, I would just say, actually, I'd say our market's probably more on par with Asian markets. We are technically part of Asia, so like, in a way. So like Australasia is a thing that's always considered. And so a lot of films that, typically do well across kind of your Chinese and Japanese markets will also do well here. Like there's a really big, so for example, in our theaters, we constantly have Bollywood films playing. Like our major theaters, like our biggest theaters will have the same amount of Bollywood films playing as like as Hollywood films.
That's great.
And then we also have quite a few anime films in theaters all the time. So I would say it's quite different actually.
Well, here we had when the new Demon Hunter movie came out here, it was sold out in our theater for like 2 months. You couldn't get a ticket. So
yeah, that was like the Demon Slayer one here was huge. It was in cinemas for ages.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a Demon Hunter. I meant Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're number 2, Alice.
Yes. Well, this is where I slightly agree with John, which is The Little Mermaid. I do think it's going to do really well. I really do think it's going to do well because I agree. All the other ones performed insanely well. This is the first big theatrical remake release in a while for Disney. And it's one of the most, it's often considered to be like the original, a favorite, like, or the favorite of many people when you ask them.
By many respects, this is, the kickoff of the Disney Renaissance. The original Little Mermaid was the kickoff of the Renaissance.
Exactly. Plus the songs are like, iconic. And also the fact that like, I think that Melissa McCarthy as Ursula is inspired. I can't wait. I think they've been keeping her very limited in, not that you'd know, Aaron, but in the trailer releases and stuff, she hasn't been as prominent of a presence, and I think that's on purpose. I also think you cannot deny the power of the hate watch. And speaking of like, the hate behind it or the wokeness or whatever, I think that a lot of people will go see it just so that they can then hate on it. And so that will also, all that does is give them more money. So I wouldn't be surprised.
I
hate the fact that they're teasing that Sebastian's going to die in this one, kind of like how they teased Rocket's going to die. Yeah.
What?
I think it's important too, just the family angle, especially. I want to just harp on that because there's a reason Super Mario is just cranking out money right now.
Oh my gosh!
It's because entire families are going to see it. It's good for 3-year-olds up to.
But you know what? It's actually very similar, I would say, to Little Mermaid because it's working on the family angle and the nostalgia angle.
Right.
Because you've got the family, because it's like, easy kids movie, done. But then if you're into Mario or like you grew up playing it or whatever, you're gonna go watch it. And I know so many people who like I'm not even joking. I was talking to someone and they were telling me how their sibling thinks that, and this is a grown man and his wife thinks that this is the greatest film ever made. Mario was.
It's okay to be wrong.
In all seriousness. And I was like, did they see the same movie? Like
people are allowed to be wrong. And I think we need to
So
normalize
I think
that.
Little Mermaid's the same because I grew up watching it. Like a lot of, like you were saying, a lot of millennials grew up watching it. And then like their parents would have taken them to it. And so they would have seen it 100 million times.
I mean, the movie came out 34 years ago. I'm exactly 34 years older than my youngest daughter. So like the timelines really line up. The original came out when I was 3. I'm going to take her when she's 3. Like it, Disney knows what they're doing.
John, you're number 2.
This is where I have Guardians Volume 3. I have it clocking in around 340 million domestic by the end of Labor Day weekend. I think this will do very, very well. But yeah, fall short of the pole position there.
Andrew, you're number 2.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Another bold pick, that's all. Not a bad
ChatGPT is going out on a limb.
Do you guys really think Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is a bold pick? Not Ted Lasso, but you know what? I love that show.
At number 2, I do, yeah.
Wow. No.
Yep.
I honestly would have expected you guys to have this at number
Again,
one.
I ask, are you reading this in the right order? Like,
Yeah.
legitimately, I'm looking at my list. And I'm just like,
I'm starting to feel like I want Andrew's list to be perfect. I want him to just be able to make us all eat crow in
Yeah.
September.
Again, I think
when it
that
all
would be the
shakes down.
most amusing outcome is if this
Yes.
list was the correct list.
Yes,
But if
yeah.
I would have put money on it, I would not put it on it.
You guys better pray that I don't win, because I tell you,
You are going to be so boastful.
the wrath of smug and entitled worshipness that I expect at the end of September if I get a good
We already
list.
decided if you win, the world ends. We already
Yeah.
decided what happens if you
That's pretty
win.
smug.
So
I
Yeah,
have to say.
and who do you think that they're going to choose to be the sole surviving human? The one that created them.
that's right. That's right.
Aaron, what do you have at number 2?
My number 2, I'm just copying off of Alice at this point. I have The Little Mermaid at number 2 as well.
Oh.
I agree with both of you that it is going to do some major business.
Well, the way both of you were sort of what's the word? Giving me crap about putting it first. I thought you had it much lower on your list. But clearly, we only differ slightly.
So the only thing that could hold it back is sometimes things are just done. And like, if people are just done with the Disney live action remakes, and some of them are coming out on Disney Plus now. Peter Pan and Wendy just came out this
That is
weekend,
the big question
and
mark, because it's been a couple years since we had a big proper live action remake.
so there is that element of like, people could just be done with them. Like,
I mean, Dwayne just came out and said they're doing a live action Moana, and that
Yep.
did not get a positive response.
No, that kind of hit the ground with a resounding thud.
well,
That made
Yeah.
no sense to me. Why, if you're gonna do that, don't skip to Moana. Do Princess and the Frog. That didn't perform at the box office like when it first came out.
Oh, a
That's
live action Princess
perfect.
and the Frog would be great.
Right?
they'll do it.
Anyway.
Guys, they'll get to it. I
But
promise.
not Moana first. It's too soon. It's like
They
they wanted
gotta-
to do a new Frozen. I'm like,
Well, they
I
have
just
the new
got over
Splash
that.
Mountain ride they have to promote, so they'll
That's
get to it.
true. That's true.
That's true.
Alice, what do you have at third?
Well, I do want to
Okay,
say
sorry.
one
Oh, yeah.
other thing with that whole idea. If there is a backlash, it could be similar to how we've seen with what happened with Lightyear, right?
Yes.
Because there's never been a Pixar sequel that did not do gangbusters at the box office. And
Yeah, if we were having this conversation a year ago, I would have put Lightyear in like the top 3 or 4, and I don't even think it made the top 20.
it tanked.
It
So-
cratered.
So
And that was a big
there is
surprise.
a world. There is a world where people are just done with it, and the Little Mermaid. It is the world of ChatGPT, apparently.
Yes.
All right, Alice. Now we can go to your number 3. What do you got?
Very similar thought process to the reason why I put Little Mermaid number 2. I think that you cannot deny the power, again, of Disney and Pixar, which is why Elemental is my number 3.
Ooh, I love it. I
That's
love
Because
that pick.
I obviously you haven't seen them, Aaron, but the teasers they've been releasing look amazing.
And it just got selected to close out Cannes.
Yeah, and I just
They have
I don't
some
know.
faith
This
in
is what I meant by I went off vibes here, because I just get like Inside Out vibes in terms of the way it's gonna make me feel, the way the story's gonna kind of go across, and the fact that Inside Out made so much money. So I'm like, I can see this when everyone's gone and seen Little Mermaid, and they're like same sort of thing. It's like, okay, we want to go see a fun movie that isn't gonna be like too intense in the action, and we can take all our kids to. And then people are going to go see it for the craftsmanship. Plus, it's Pixar. I can see Elemental doing gangbusters.
Fun pick. John, what do you got at number 3?
This is where I have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny with an
Ooh, okay.
estimated cume of 320 million. This is a big question mark for me, because I feel like, to your point, Aaron, about are we done? I feel like Indiana Jones is either going to capture that lightning in a bottle, like 30-year legacy sequel magic that Maverick did, or it's going to be like, I don't want to see an 80-year-old man throw his whip anymore. Like
you don't want to see Taken 3.
Yeah, this could be a huge.
You mean an 80-year-old man playing a 30-year-old version of himself for 24 minutes?
I think there's not a single universe where this doesn't do like well, but it could either do 300 million or could do like 190, 200, which would be I think compared to its budget and the hype would be a disappointment.
I agree with your thought process purely because I was like, when I was doing the research, I was like, wait, how much money did Jurassic World Dominion make? Because I feel like that's a similar, so much money.
And
which
even
is
Crystal
insane
Skull,
to
which
me.
everyone in hindsight thinks is obvious. I think we're all in agreement. The worst Indiana Jones movie that still made like 800 million worldwide, 300 or 400 million domestic. And if this movie's good, I think that can help it. I think word of mouth is going to really make or break Dial of Destiny. If the opening weekend reviews are great, I could see this doing really well, especially with like the dad crowd, right? This is a movie my dad would see, a movie I'll go and see with my dad. It potentially has a huge upside, but equally massive downside if people just don't care about a geriatric fight.
Loving these picks. Andrew, what does Skynet have for number 3?
You guys get ready to. Oh, here we go. Yeah, we're going to go with Transformers Rise of the Beasts.
Oh my god. Andrew, this is a joke at this point.
How do you guys not think this one makes sense? Honestly, how do you guys...
Domestically.
Think about it. This movie comes out in June. It has so long to make money. You guys were talking about movie...
Domestic? Well, these all seem like international picks to me. These seem like movies that'll do well in China.
Yeah. No, this is going to do a lot of money domestically because, and I actually agree with ChatGPT here, because like you guys were howling about for all the other movies, you need movies that get multiple people in seats. You need a family movie. This is a family movie. You are going to have parents taking their kids to... Transformers is a kids movie. They've always been kids movies.
The last 3 Transformers in a row have all made less money than the one prior. I don't think this breaks 120 million. And top 3, you're going to need 300 million.
Andrew,
the only reason I knew this movie existed was because the trailer played in front of like Mario or something when I went to go see it. Like I literally didn't even know it existed.
And Andrew, I'm so thankful to have you on this show. This is so much fun.
Well, the conversation is way more interesting.
It does. It's really, and again, there are a lot of ways to serve up crow on your list already.
And I'm telling you, the more you guys throw flack my way, the more it's just going to go right back at you.
I hope you know we're not throwing it at you. The audacity of AI to make these picks.
Nope, this is 100% personal.
Okay.
Do your shoulders hurt, Andrew? Because you're taking a lot of big swings. I'm just saying.
Well, Andrew, I'm going to give you the first support you've had of the entire evening.
Spider-Man.
My number 3 is Across the Spider-Verse. I think there is a world I think is likely.
A verse?
Where this sequel blows everything out of the water. There's a world where this movie makes $600 million. Like, it is that kind of thing that like Shrek 2 is like that, right? Like, Shrek was good, and then the sequel comes out shortly thereafter, and people are like, remember that amazing movie? Let's go see the sequel. That thing just happened. So
well, this has all of the goodwill of the first Spider-Verse and all of the even better goodwill of No Way Home. So we know multiverse movies work. We know Spider-Man movies work.
Plus, I would also say there is something to be said by that since the first Spider-Verse, like that animation style's been used a few times now, so people have gotten used to it. Like it's not going to put people off because it's going to be too different or difficult for them to watch, because so many movies have adopted it. So I think that there is a lot more comfort in it as well.
You suck so hard. You guys suck so hard. I had it at number 2, and you guys were throwing it around like it was the worst decision ever. Aaron has it at number 3, and you're all like, you know what?
I did not give you crap about that.
No, okay.
I thought you had it high.
These two down here, these two, no.
Andrew, I'm not supporting Aaron. I think that he's still wrong. I'm just saying it could do well.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're both a little bit more bullish on it than I am, but I don't think it's a totally like out of left field pick. And Andrew, of yours 3 so far, that's the one you'll get closest on.
If it wasn't for the fact that I don't want Phil's movie to tank, I would be so so happy whenever the Little Mermaid just flops at the box office.
Flops like a fish out of water.
Yeah,
Oh,
as long as Phil's not getting royalties on it, then
I can see the headlines now. Little Mermaid only makes $10 million opening weekend. Fish tanks. Alice, what is your number 4?
Okay, this is my big swing, but there is so much hype around this movie. I think Barbie is going to make a lot of money. I think it's going to make its marketing has been genius, and I mean that.
Yeah.
Plus, that is it's got so much potential cut through. Because I think it's obviously got the obvious, aesthetic element to it and the Barbie element. But I do think that a lot of people who are going to want something a bit more intellectual and interesting, because you got your Gerwig effect. Like, I just think that there is so much happening behind the surface. I think this is going to be one of those word of mouth ones where it's just like, people go see it opening weekend and then they tell everyone they know to go see it so that they can talk about it. And I really think this is going to perform insanely well.
Well,
This has the potential to do like Lego movie numbers.
Right. The question, though, is will it do well opening weekend? Because it's opening the same day as Oppenheimer, and neither studio is budging from that, which I thought they might.
It's not like they're competing movies, you know?
No, this is excellent counter programming, but it is. They're good. They might split the ticket, so to speak.
There are plenty of people that want to see both of those movies. I
am one of them.
I would not say I'm another one of them. I would not say that they aren't. I mean, they are counter programming in some ways, but they will have an impact on each other.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it's like you go see one movie on Friday and you go see the other movie on Saturday. Because most people don't
do that though. Most people don't have that kind of.
True.
I think it's the kind of thing where you'll pick the one you want to see opening weekend, and then if you hear good things about the other, then you'll go the next weekend.
That makes more sense to me. Yeah,
but I think that it's going to be a word of mouth.
I think whatever happens, the second weekend drop for both is going to be really favorable. I think we're only going to see 30-40% drops because their opening is going to be really stymied from each other. That is a bit of a swing, though. I don't have that nearly that high on my list.
John, what do you have at number 4?
This is where I have Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. I have it estimated at 300 million domestic, which would make it the highest grossing in the 7-picture franchise. But so far, each movie, the last, I think 3 or 4 in a row, have made more money than the one prior. And Fallout was so good, got rave reviews, critical response. And I think riding off of the momentum of Top Gun Maverick, I think Tom Cruise is going to put butts in seats. And that central stunt, the bike over the cliff that they're putting in all of the marketing that even Aaron and I can't avoid with our no trailer pledge. I think that's the kind of thing that's going to get people curious, especially older crowds. If you can get moms and dads to see a movie, you make a lot of money. That's what James Cameron's always figured out. And I think that's what Tom Cruise did last year as well. When you can get people like my 68-year-old father to go see a movie for the first time in 3 years, you'll make a ton of money. And I think my dad would go see this, like, very enthusiastically.
All right,
I
Andrew.
wonder if part 1 thing's going to put people off. You know what I mean?
That's a good question.
That's why they didn't do it with Dune. They tricked us.
That was tricky, guys.
So tricksy, those hobbitses. Andrew.
I can't wait for this.
Give us something to cheer about. Give us a pick to cheer about, Andrew. What do you got at number 4?
I believe in you.
The Flash.
Oh, that's okay.
God.
That's all right. I'm okay with that. That's fine.
That's better. Fine. Yeah, because we're already.
What's amazing is you still haven't chosen any of our number 1s and you're to your number 5 yet.
I'll tell you, your number 1s, they're not even in my 10.
That is concerning.
Nope.
I'm so excited for this list.
Who would you trust? 2 random people on the internet or the collective knowledge of humanity?
I think
collective knowledge of humanity who thought that Aaron wrote a book that he didn't. I'm just
exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. That's right. Okay.
But yeah, The Flash. I mean, I'm excited. I am so excited for this. Yes, I'm excited because I want to see Michael Keaton back as Batman. That's going to be great. All the stuff looks fascinating. Early screenings of it, people are saying this is like one of, if not the best, like Snyderverse movies they've ever made, including the Snyder Cut.
Really?
So
I'm the early reviews on this have me sufficiently hyped. It got
Yeah.
a first screening at CinemaCon this last week, and
Standing
not
ovation.
everybody, but like 90% of the early reviews are saying best DC movie yet, the best thing
Yeah.
to feature Batman since The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
You know, Keaton is fantastic. Really, really incredible things from reputable sources. So I think if the word of mouth is as strong as I hope it is,
Yeah.
this could really, I think, open up, especially with like the white 30 crowd. Like people like us are going to go out in droves to see this for sure.
Yeah. Flashpoint is just such a fascinating
And it's
story
that's a great source story too.
Such a
Flashpoint,
good
any
story, yeah.
adaptation is worth checking out.
Yeah.
All right.
Aaron?
My number 4 is the same as John's. I have Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 here. I feel like this might be a little high, but there's just I don't think it's the Maverick thing. I don't know that there's a comp there that really works because yes, Tom Cruise is in both, but the Mission Impossible thing isn't that same level of been a long time nostalgia going back to, something.
I think
from
it'll
the
play a factor
80s.
though. I think this will see a Top Gun bump, so to speak. It's
Yeah.
not going to push it to 700 million domestic, but I think 290, 300 is in the cards.
I don't
So-
think that the Top Gun is going to be the bump. I think that people just remembering how balls to the wall amazing Fallout was, and they're like, if it can,
Yeah,
capture
like I said,
even
the
a thimble's worth of what that movie was, then yes,
the
please.
last 3 movies have all outgrossed their predecessors. So
Yeah.
this could continue
Yeah.
that staircase and make even more.
Yeah,
and the
that's what I'm
last one I think
thinking, too.
came in at like 230, 240. I think this could go, like north of 280.
Yeah, that's what
potentially.
I'm thinking too. So that's my number 4. Alice, what do you got at number 5?
Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. So similarly thought process. The reason why I didn't have it high is because I always think Part 1 movies, I do think the Part
That's
1
a fair
thing
point.
has an effect.
I didn't even consider that, but that could turn a lot of people off.
Because I can see people being like, I'll just wait for Part 2 and watch
And
them
perhaps
both
more
at the same
importantly, it's
time.
also Part 7, and that could also turn people. Well, I don't want to go back and watch the other.
But I
6.
think for the Part 1, it like for a lot of people, I know that this is a thought I had where it's like, it's going to end on a cliffhanger. You know what I mean? And so
or a literal cliff.
literally could be an actual cliffhanger. Like we could
don't-
see a cliffhanger for once, which would be amazing and frustrating all at once. I do think though and I say this like, thinking about it from the general movie public, I can see people being like, oh yeah, Tom Cruise, Top Gun. Like not even considering about it from the Top Gun perspective. It's more like, oh yeah, it's the same movie. Like it's just another of the same movie. I enjoyed that
think
movie.
people
I'll enjoy
remember-
this movie.
So a lot of people just like actors and remember who entertained them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Tom Cruise is always dependable. I'll go." Watch
Yeah. Plus, when you got action movies, always do well. And I feel like, especially with James Bond, last year before last
2
year.
years ago, 2021.
2 years ago. Yeah. So that obviously, did well. And I think that's got the same sort of effect here as with the long standing and the action and the, oh my
Yeah,
gosh. this is
James
gonna be
Bond's a
big
very
one.
good comparable.
So I can see it
sure.
doing well, just not slightly less well than what you two thought.
For sure.
John, you're number 5.
This is where I have the Flash, and I estimate 275 for this one, and I think we've kind of already talked about everything else.
75 is
Andrew?
reputable. For number 5, this is where I have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Okay.
Nice.
That makes sense.
I think if it comes fifth, that will be fifth. I think would be a very respectable finish for that film.
Yeah.
And I think Chat GPT's best guess yet.
Are you guys at all excited for it?
I am actually. I saw a couple. I didn't watch the whole trailer, but I saw a glimpse, and I was like, "Oh, I'm intrigued." Indiana. I have the poster on my wall, right? Like Raiders is my second favorite movie of all time. I am obsessed with those films. I love this character. I'm very hesitant though about an 80-year-old man punching Nazis again. But James Mangold has a really solid track record.
See,
I'm
it's
excited for the James Mangold
it's the
and the Phoebe
Mangold
Waller
part.
Bridge. Those
Yeah,
two
it's-
are the
it's-
things that make me excited.
I think this might be a great movie, and I also have it at number 5. I think it will depend on word of mouth if for it to get up that high. But it really does have, and it's also that thing where you talk about the Disney live action things haven't missed yet. Indiana Jones movies haven't missed yet either. Like,
That's a lie and a half.
No, not in terms of box office.
In terms
they
of
have.
box office,
fiscally, yeah.
yeah, Crystal Skull made a ton of money.
So much, like unfairly.
So
I mean, I remember going to see it as a kid, and I'd never
Yeah.
seen any other Indiana Jones movie. I literally was like, "This is a movie at the movies," and my parents
right.
took me.
Yeah,
so.
I was there opening night. It was, and I enjoyed it for what it was. It's not a great movie, but
So I think
the other thing to consider too is Harrison Ford adores this character. Unlike Han Solo, which he has sort of an open detestment of, he likes playing this character. He wants to be the only one that plays it, and I think his enthusiasm will help market the film. It'll help, I think, make it an enjoyable experience because he's not just doing this for the paycheck. He genuinely likes portraying this character.
And the
That's why he
deepfakes-
came back. That's why he decided to come back at age 80.
I saw he said in an interview that he was like, Chris Pratt will never play Indiana Jones.
Yeah. He doesn't want this is his thing. He doesn't want anybody else to do it, which is why he'll keep coming back.
I have bad news for him. If this movie does really well, somebody else will play Indiana Jones. It will happen.
He doesn't
Well,
own
I
the
think
character.
it's going to be the Phoebe
Money
Waller-Bridge
speaks.
character. Like, I think that this movie is going to be a torch passing, honestly.
That's what they thought Crystal Skull was. They thought they were going to hand it off
Well,
to Shia.
They can't really do that anymore. So
Yeah.
they're like,
What if
next
what
one.
if Shia pops up in this movie?
I was wondering about that.
I would legitimately be excited to see that because I like.
I reckon it'll be like an end. I reckon it'll be like an end. Okay, this is my. I'm gonna predict. I'm predicting it because it's my number
Theorizing.
6. It's my number 6 anyway. So we're about to talk about it. So
Oh, okay, cool.
let's continue the conversation. But my theory is that like he'll do something. He'll hand over the torch, or like Phoebe Waller-Bridge will become the new archaeology professor or something, and then he will finally go into retirement where we see him at the end with the mum and Shia LaBeouf, like him walking to
Mutt,
a house and like
Mutt.
so I reckon it like that'll
Mutt.
be one of the that'll be the moment where it's like he's now going off with those characters and he's going to go retire and enjoy himself, and then she will take on literally
I
like
can
maybe
see that.
I can literally see her taking the Akubra and putting it on, and then that's how it ends.
All right, very nice.
Mark my words.
John, I guess that means we're at your number 6.
This is where I have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
All right.
I'm excited to see this. I think a lot of other people are too. But the other movie, as good as it was, only made, I want to say, like 190 million. So I don't see this doing like hugely better. I think it'll do maybe 235, 240, which would place it 6th for the summer.
What did the original one make?
I'd have to check, but not,
It didn't
less
make
than-
as much as I thought. It wasn't
less than
actually that
200.
huge.
Yeah.
Let me double check.
Andrew's like, oh no.
No.
It made 190 domestic.
If you think that any of my confidence has wavered at all, you are clearly misreading my emotions. With everything, I am more cemented in this that
Yeah.
I am actually starting to convince myself I never even used ChatGPT.
right,
These
well.
are 100% my picks.
Well, what do you have at number 6 then, Mr.
Dead Reckoning.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, I keep forgetting, and maybe this is what's going to help the movie. I keep forgetting that there's a part 1 to this. I think people are just going to go, oh, a new Mission Impossible movie, and they're not going to go, oh, it's a part 1. I think they're just going to see Tom Cruise jumping off a bike off of a mountain, and they're going to go buy a movie ticket.
Yeah, that sounds. I'm in. That sold me. Just one image alone sold. I have not seen anything from this movie except that one promotional still, and I'm like, I'm in. The other thing to consider too on that part 1 discussion, we'll finally be done because I think we've all picked it at this point. Is part 2 comes out next year. We don't have to wait 3 or 4 years. It's just 11 and a half short months. So that I think is something nice to consider.
It's weird because isn't this the one that they filmed during the pandemic? And
I think
like
so.
there was that huge that leaked audio of Tom Cruise like flipping out.
Yeah.
I just find it fascinating that they filmed not 1 but 2 movies whenever the rest of Hollywood was in quarantine.
I don't think
it's just
Tom Cruise
wild.
is capable of sitting still. So
No.
That's correct.
All right, my number 6. I thought I would be the one to have it the highest here. I am not, because Alice had it at number 3. I have Elemental here at number 6. I wouldn't be fulfilling my role as the
fanboy?
Pixar lover. if I didn't put it high enough. I have faith that being the first original Pixar movie in theaters, right?
Yeah, we've had a couple
Yeah.
day and dates, or not even just the date, I guess.
Since 2019. It's been 4 years since Pixar has had an original movie in theaters.
I'm telling you, it's going to be the
What
Inside
was
Out
it?
effect.
I already forgot. Was
yeah,
it?
I don't know, because Turning Red was on Disney Plus, which still
Yep,
blows my
and
mind.
Luca.
So
And Onward, as
Was it Finding
mentioned
Dory?
I guess Onward would be the last one,
but
because
that,
that
I
did
mean, that had its
technically go
legs
to
cut off
theaters.
like week
but yeah,
two. That didn't
but
really get.
Oh, that's right. Because Disney was doing that thing where like they would release a movie in theaters for like a month, and then it would go to Disney Plus. So
And the other one, I think Soul might have had a stunted theatrical release, but it was day and date. I
But
think,
that was
on-
just because of the Academy Award
Yeah,
nominations.
yeah.
So that wasn't screened anywhere. That was just like New York, LA for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
because it came out on Christmas.
So
This was the biggest question mark for me, Aaron, because to get like a comparable picture to look at, you have to go back to like Coco, because it's like, well, this isn't going to do the same numbers Toy Story 4 or Incredibles 2. Those had baked in franchises.
and Coco made good money.
Out.
Right.
Inside Out.
Right, and I think you have to go back to Inside Out and Coco, the last like two big original Pixar movies that released, I think in the summer. Right, was Inside Out a summer release? Yeah, it came out in June. You have to go back that far to find an original Pixar movie in the summer that wasn't during COVID. And yeah, Inside Out did great. It almost made $400 million domestic. Elemental could absolutely blow up.
Well,
But
it's the same. It's Pete Docter, right? Like it's this. It's the same brain, the same, almost kind of same style. It almost feels like a spiritual sequel to Inside Out in some ways. Just from even the art, the selection for the closing of Cannes really gave me a lot of hope. The only Pixar movies to be selected for that are Up and Inside Out. And now,
that is a big vote
Elemental.
of confidence for sure.
So
This movie is making me think like it's Inside Out and Zootopia if you were to kind of like mesh them and then make them elements. Like, and that both of those are amazing.
Yeah, that's
So I was like,
I love the when Pixar does the high concept stuff. I think that's when they're on their best.
Oh, and actually, you know what you can't deny, because they've been advertising this, the short before it is going to be an Up short.
Ooh.
And it's going to be Carl going on his first date, since Ellie. So get some tissues. That's all I'm going to say.
If it's anything like Doug Days, count me in, because Carl is a delight.
This does come out the same day as Dead Reckoning.
Actually, Dead Reckoning.
They both say the 16th or the 14th and the 16th. So
Dead Reckoning is July, and they actually moved it up to Wednesday. Right? Or did I copy that date wrong?
I don't know.
July.
I don't have the release dates in front of me.
So June 16th is Elemental, and then Dead Reckoning
is July 12th. They actually just moved it up to Wednesday.
No, this comes out the same weekend as The Flash.
Yes.
Actually.
Yeah,
so
Elemental and Flash.
So I guess
really
the Flash is the lightning element for Elemental.
Yes,
There you go.
There you go.
On to our number 7s.
Hey.
Alice, what do you got at number 7?
Oh my god, every my picks just keep being relevant. It's The Flash, speaking of. So I think that what might actually push this to do well, besides everything we've already mentioned, is the fact that I think it, because of the Flashpoint element, it's going to reset the DC universe.
Yes.
And introduce the Gunniverse, and from the Snyderverse to the Gunniverse. And I think people are excited for that element in particular to see, okay, how are you going to fix this? And that kind of potential tease or after credit or ending is, I think, what's going to really, that's what's exciting me. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's exciting quite a few other people.
That's a good point. I think I hope, we don't know for sure that they're going to use this movie to reset the actual real world.
It would make
film
sense.
franchises, but it makes so much sense. So I hope they do it, and how they do it will definitely be a curiosity element for sure.
Yep. And the fact that all the early reviews aren't "this is hot garbage" means it could actually be good.
No, the reviews are incredible. Actually, people call it the best movie.
They're calling it one of the best superhero movies in a long time.
John, what do you got at number 7?
This is where I have Oppenheimer, and I'm actually surprised we haven't talked about this yet. Chris Nolan did $100 million in the height of the pandemic with Tenet. This really esoteric time travel, wishy-washy. No one understood what it was about. This movie, I feel like, has a much clearer through line as to what it is, what you can expect from it, and he's filming everything practically. He has an incredibly consistent track record for original films. I see this one doing well, but opening the same weekend as Barbie could be a bit of a hindrance. So I guess we'll see. I estimate this will make around $180 million.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm excited for this one, but I also don't know a lot about it.
Oh, I'm super excited for any time Nolan decides to, put some celluloid
I think
up.
mass market, though, like people that don't follow it from a filmmaker's perspective, I could see it potentially not performing as well because of the black and white effect and also the biopic effect. Because the other Nolan films of recent, it's been like, Interstellar, time travel with Tenet, and it's like these big kind of more mass appeal topics, while this one's like more internalized, which is why I think it's going to be better. But I can see like a regular person being like, "Ugh, black and white."
It's going to be closer to Dunkirk than anything
But Dunkirk made $190 million domestic. I think it'll probably land right around there, 180, 190 or so, which I think is good enough for 7th place here.
Andrew, what does ChatGPT have for number 7?
Well, ChatGPT girl is living in a ChatGPT world. So, yeah, Barbie at number 7. Now, if I was going off like the movies on this list that I'm like just really excited about, like Oppenheimer and Barbie, it sucks that they're coming out on the same day because I don't know which one I'm going to go and see first that day, but I'm going to go and see them both that day.
What I like about those two movies is those are the two biggest curiosities for me because I don't know what to expect with either. I don't know the tone. I don't really know the style. I don't know what to expect with just how they're going to play out in terms of plot structure. And they both feel like they could take huge, unique swings with how the movie plays out. And whereas I kind of know what to expect with The Flash, Indiana Jones is going to be a very sort of, paint by numbers 3-act structure. We know what we're getting with those. Barbie is like, I don't know. Greta Gerwig is going to do something totally different. Like by the looks of what I've seen so far, it'll be fun.
Yeah, Barbie. It just looks so fun. Cannot wait.
Aaron, number 7.
My number 7 is the same as Alice. I got The Flash at number 7. Yeah, one of the more interesting things about this to me with the possible reset of the universe is I feel like Marvel is leading this direction eventually too. And this is a rare instance of DC getting somewhere before Marvel does, where, they get to
cleaning the slate,
cleaning universes, because I think that's where the whole multiverse thing is leading with Marvel is. We
talked about this in our Ant-Man review a couple months ago, that Marvel has too many sort of dangling threads right now with all these possibilities of resurrected characters. And until they sort of tourniquet that multiversal option and just get back to Universe 616 or whatever, it'll be, I think, a problem for them creatively because it's like nothing matters if everything can come back to life.
Correct.
But I also find it interesting that apparently wasn't the actress who plays Kamala Khan, Imani Vellani, I think her name is, or Iman Vellani rather. She was saying that this isn't the 616 universe. Apparently, the MCU.
Whatever it is.
A lot of this could be.
So I'm wondering if that's going to
stuff.
be like if they do a clean slate, it's going to be like, oh, well, now we're going to take you to the 616 universe.
It's what I've been saying. Like, we need to just have the living tribunal just pop out of space and go, you guys, you're cut off from the multiverse. Goodbye. And then just start over,
Yeah, I think we'll get there.
Yeah.
So I find it interesting that The Flash is getting there first, or at least appears as if it might
Out
be
of
getting
necessity.
there first.
I thought you were going to go with DC doing legacy characters, like bringing back like Michael Keaton
Marvel got there first.
That's what I was going to say.
So, but
and that worked out pretty well for No Way Home.
And it did work out pretty well. And who doesn't want to see Michael Keaton again as Batman? Like,
I think everybody's jazzed for that. I don't think
you want to get nuts
on the planet that doesn't.
Let's get nuts.
I think it's really exciting. So, yeah, I think it'll make some money. All right, let's go on to our number 8. Alice, what do you got?
This is where I have Fast X because I think that. Oh, do you? There you go. Me and John on the same wavelength. Don't.
Oh, you have it at.
I have it as well.
All right.
Clearly, it's number 1 movie of the year.
I think it's
Clearly.
going to do really well internationally. Like, I think
Yes.
that the Asian markets are going to
Oh.
go nuts.
No, they
But
love
I
this
think
stuff. They
that
love it.
domestically, I think it'll do well enough. But I also hate
I
these
think
movies.
enthusiasm for this franchise has really cooled down. 8 made less than 7, 9 made less than that. Hobbs and Shaw did less than both.
I mean, they've been to space. That's like the joke, right? Where it's like, oh, next thing you know,
literally-
they'll go to space, and then
They
they've
already
done
have.
that. So I'm like, well, okay,
Yeah.
what? Now they've added an Aquaman. Is he going to actually have powers? Because that's the only thing left, is that one of them actually.
what did you just say?
superpowers.
What did you just say?
No, Aaron,
Aquaman?
Jason Momoa's in the movie, so she's saying
I'm like,
Aquaman.
how is that a crossover? That makes no sense.
The fact that you actually believed that there
It's
was a
possible.
possibility that the DC universe merged
family.
with the Fast Family universe, that
Okay.
Wow.
I was
Will
worried there
Will
for a
he have
second.
powers? I'm like, powers?
no, but she's talking about the bombasticness and how
Yeah.
everything in
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
like,
that's
the
I'm with
Fast
you now.
universe is hyperbolic.
I have joined you back
Exactly.
in reality. Continue.
Yes, and well, I'll say it more specifically, and Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, but not Captain
yeah.
Marvel, Brie Larson. Like, the only thing literally left is that they develop superpowers. Like, that's
Time travel.
literally
They pretty much
I'm
already
holding
have
out- I'm holding out for time
superpowers.
travel in one of these.
These
Yeah,
people are
although
indestructible.
I did see an interview with Michelle Rodriguez where she was like, "Oh, the fight scene that me and this character, I'm not going to say it now because apparently everything's a spoiler. This character that's in the trailer. They're like, oh, we filmed that without a director. I was like, that's not something that's not good. That's not a good thing.
No,
That's
actually, and
terrible.
if I can jump in, the one thing I think that has me sort of less, what I guess bearish, right, would be the opposite of bullish. The
Mhm.
thing that has me bearish on Fast 10 is James Wan, the director of the last couple films, ducked out after a week. He was like, "This is too much. Vin
Yeah.
Diesel's too much drama. This is an absolute mess." They shot in the middle of COVID. The budget ballooned, I think, to $360 million. Just
Mhm.
astronomically out of control production, like famously like heinous set. Like there's a lot of stress and anxiety coming off of this. And I feel like if this doesn't screen early to critics, we're going to have an early indication that they are not confident in it. It's sort of
It would have to make more money than Avatar 2 to get it, like, to recoup its spend.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is there's like 20 main characters in this.
Yeah.
The runtime is going to be like 3 hours long. This
wonder
just
if they've
seems like
released
an
that yet.
unruly, just like a big mess. I'm probably going to love it, but it does seem like just like a
2 hours and 21 minutes is the
That's
Well,
not too bad.
I will say, even people who have loved the Fast movies, like myself, weren't necessarily on board with Fast 9.
It
I
wasn't
among
as
them.
good.
You just tire of nonsense sometimes, and even if it's intentional. And I can see this one doing less.
I predict it'll come in at 170 million, which would I think be the low
170 billion. Yeah,
last
it
five.
definitely will be number one.
Andrew, what is your number 8?
Number 8. Okay.
Oh, no.
I need everybody. don't make it me. Don't make it. No, don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. Okay. This is the one where I have to reiterate that I did not make this
This
list.
is your pick, Andrew.
Rip the
What,
Band-Aid
no
off.
matter where
Oh
you
my
got
god,
it
is it
from.
like
It is
book
your
club or
pick.
something? What?
Let's go.
The Meg to the Trench.
Oh,
Maybe it'll. No, Aaron, you can't laugh because you picked the Meg. What was it? 4 or 5
I have
years
a soft
ago.
spot for the Meg. It won me this game.
It won you this game.
The Meg won me this game because I picked it at number 10, and in the very last week of the summer, it popped into that number 10 slot. And won me the game.
the Meg is not a bad pick for like honorable mentions, but I don't think it's going to make more than Guardians or Little Mermaid, which you have yet to put on your list. Like I just don't see that universe. This is not 616. You're in some other place.
Yeah.
all
According
right,
to
Meg
Andrew,
2
no one's gonna go see those
at
movies.
number 8.
Yeah.
My number 8 is the same as John Analysis. I also have Fast X at number 8.
Oh,
So So
Generally, it's been quite a copacetic game.
all right, on to our number 9. Alice, what do you got at number 9?
This is where I have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
That's
because
really low. That's
I
so
am
low.
I'm genuinely surprised you guys have it that low.
I was shocked
After
when I
hearing
went online
Aaron
and
talk about it, I think I have it low at 6. So I want to hear your defense of 9.
I was shocked by how like well, not little. It didn't make little money, but it didn't make as much money as the first one.
Yeah,
it didn't
no,
make
it
as much
actually
money
did
as I
it.
thought it would have.
It kind of picked up steam later on
And
home video
I think
especially.
and this is my theory, if Mario is still in theaters, which is entirely possible, and if Elemental and Little Mermaid do pop off, like I can just see people going for a repeat of that maybe, and then because Across the Spider-Verse could be seen as confusing to the average Joe potentially, and so I'm wondering if that could end up affecting its results. And I don't know. I just think it'll do well. I just don't think it's gonna. I think it's gonna be more like critically well rather than amazing box office. It's my vibe.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I heard both of your arguments, and if I may, I think Aaron is probably closer to what I think I think it has a better chance of doing above average than below average.
I'm just these
And if
animated sequels, man. I like Toy Story. I'm looking at now. The original made 191, which is great. The sequel,
Toy Story 3.
The sequel made 245. Toy Story 3 made 415, and Toy Story 4 made 434. Like, you know, it's
but Lego Movie 2 didn't perform as well as Lego Movie 1.
That's true, but that's, you know, that has live action in it, so it doesn't count. No, I'm just kidding.
In fact, it did quite like internationally. Lego Movie 2 only made 192.5 total in box office, and that's not just domestically.
You could be right, Alice. You
like,
absolutely could be right.
It doesn't have the Disney effect, is what I'm saying. You know,
I'd
it
love
has
to
a bit
see
of
this
Marvel,
one really
but
do well, but
I would love it to do well. I'd actually love to be wrong. I just can see people being like, "Oh, that's a lot. I'm just going to go watch the simple kids movie instead."
John, what do you have at number 9?
This is where I have Elemental. I think this one was one of the hardest ones for me to predict because I agree. Past Pixar summer theatrical releases on original properties have done really, really well. But we've had so many years of question marks in terms of has the day and date with Luca and Onward and Soul and the other one I'm forgetting sort of hurt that brand where do parents now just expect, we'll just wait for it to be on video. Like we don't need to see it immediately. Has Pixar sort of shot themselves in the leg with that,
possibility?
Is there urgency to see this in theaters? I think people will see it. I think people will love it. I don't know if people are going to rush out to see it on, you know, June 16th, the same day that Batman comes out. So, Flash rather shows how much I'm looking forward to in that film. But again, this is another one where I would love to be wrong. I predict it'll make around 150 million, which would be perfectly, respectable total. But this could do more than 200, maybe even 230. If word of mouth is really great and people are bringing their kids to it. Like I could probably bring 9 kids. This might be a little bit over the 3-year-old's head, but we'll see.
Andrew, what do you have at number 9?
Oppenheimer.
Okay.
It's still my most anticipated movie of the year. He's one of my favorite historical figures. I just think his whole life story is fascinating. And it's Nolan. And
I think this is a solid guess. I think this will probably crack the top 10, but only, a couple spots.
Yeah. And I do think the fact that it is going up against Barbie, even though, a lot of people want to see both, it is going to hurt both films.
Yeah, no, it will. I could see them both doing 30 or 40 million opening weekend, but neither one's going to do 80 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Aaron. Speaking of Barbie, that's what I have at number 9. John, this hasn't been on your list yet, correct? I think Andrew had it at 7.
It has not. Nope.
And
I'm keeping track over here.
Alice,
too.
You had it
3,
4,
I think. Yeah. Here's my thing. Yes, it is getting a lot of internet buzz. It strikes me a little bit like Megan. Like it felt like Megan was everywhere with the memes
and it did well.
Posts.
It did well.
And it did well, but it did in the tune of like 120, 110, somewhere in that range. In this,
But it did more well after it had released. You know, and I don't know if there was as much hype leading up to it. It was more after it released where everyone was like, "Oh my god, you have to."
Megan ended up with 95.
That
total.
wasn't my experience.
Megan doesn't have the star power that Barbie does.
That is fair. But I also wonder if there will be a lot of misunderstanding about what that movie is. With
I think that's
Greta
a big
Gerwig
problem.
And,
personally, I don't know what it is going into it, and I'm not the only one who's confused by the tone. I know it like starts in the real world, but then might go into Barbie or vice versa.
See, I don't know anything. All I know is Greta Gerwig, and she has something to say. I promise you. And I've seen Lady Bird. I know. We're in for
getting,
something.
I'm getting strong Lady Bird vibes from the trailers.
So I just wonder if like moms and daughters go opening weekend and then they tell all their friends, don't go to that weird movie, or whatever.
I could totally see that.
I don't know. I think it'll land somewhere in the 125 million.
I have 120 for my prediction, actually, right on the.
I'm just hopefully you don't think it's spoilers, but I'm just getting vibes from the trailers that this is live action Lego movie.
Yeah,
that it really has that kind of vibe.
I'm thinking more of like an Enchanted, but more catered towards adult. And I think the whole thing. So this is my theory. Okay, I don't know. This is not coming at all from like the trailers or anything. It's just my theory based on the fact that Greta Gerwig is in it. But also the fact that Margot Robbie said that this was the best script she'd read, like she's ever read. So I think. Yeah, so I think that this is.
To be fair, Margot has been in a lot of bad movies, but
well, yes, but she's also
in Wolf of Wall Street.
She was, granted, but a lot of the other ones not as good.
I think what's going to happen is that I think it starts in the Barbie world, and she's the Barbie, but everyone else has like a job. You know, it's like, oh, this one's a president, this one's a doctor, blah blah blah, and she might not have one, so she decides to go to this real world she's heard of to kind of find herself. Then I think when she ends up in the real world, because Ken will go with her, I think that a world where it's been very matriarchal, very Barbie focused, because all the posters have been like, this Barbie's a rocket scientist and he's a Ken, right? So it's got a very clear understanding. It's like the Barbies have like the jobs and the aspirations, and then the Kens are also there. So I think that's the expectation. And then she'll go into the real world where it's a patriarchal society, and the person who like created Barbie, the mother, is Will Ferrell, and like all these businessmen are the ones who are dictating the direction. And I think that it's going to be a commentary on the like patriarchy, and all of a sudden Ken, Ryan Gosling, who apparently seems to be quite an objectively dumb character, is going to start getting way more respect and be listened to way more than Barbie, who's the intelligent one. And it's going to be this whole like interesting comparative.
I feel like you spoiled the movie because that sounds spot on. But and to Aaron's point, I'm
down for that movie. I'm down for that movie.
And to Aaron's point, that seems to me like a little bit more of this movie has commentary, political and socio, and that might resonate less with families in like teens and Gen Z.
But I wonder if she'll be able to hide it well enough. You know what I mean? Because I think that the aesthetic and the style of it, I think that it'll be like, if you don't want to delve surface level, maybe it'll just be a fun Enchanted flick. But if you do start thinking about it more, then it becomes more of a Lady Bird situation.
I could see that. That's my 100%.
All right. Anyways, I have that at number 9. Our final picks in the top 10. What are your number 10 picks? Alice, what do you got at number 10?
It hurts me to say I do think Transformers Rise of the Beasts will end up on this list somewhere, because I think the fact that Bumblebee got a little bit of goodwill back with it not being the worst film of all time, and Beast Wars is a property like the whole Beast element. Yeah, exactly. But I just think the whole Beast element, I think that's different, and people like, I can see kids getting all excited by like, oh, it's a gorilla car, you know, and then going to go see the movie, and again, like I could see it performing. Just number 10.
All right, John, you're number 10.
This is where I have Barbie last and finally, and I predict around 120 million, like you said, Aaron. Echo everything we've already talked about. I think the audience confusion might be the only thing that hurts this outside of opening opposite Oppenheimer. But it'll do well. 100 million, I think, almost guaranteed for a picture like this. This will be pretty good.
And with that, No, that's not true. I was going to say that's our first movie that all four of us have in our top 10, but it is not. I think we all had Indiana
And the Flash
Jones
as
and
well.
the Flash as well. And Fast X, I guess we all had it at
Can't
number 8.
believe
And
there
Dead
hasn't been
Reckoning.
Little
I think we
Mermaid.
actually have plenty of. We have plenty
I
of
can't believe
crossovers.
Guardians and Little Mermaid hasn't even touched Andrew's list.
Well, Andrew, are you going to have either of those at number 10? What's your number 10?
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, it ain't either of them because we're gonna be hanging out with Denzel Washington in The Equalizer 3. I can't even keep a straight face with this one.
There's just, I appreciate the optimism, but there is no way Guardians of the Galaxy makes less money than Equalizer.
I can't
Guardians
believe
has
you
a
think-
3-month head start. Guardians comes out in May. Equalizer's like late August.
I also can't believe you think it's
Aaron
gonna
is
make
crying
any
over
money.
there.
I can't believe you think it's going to make any money.
I'm
Wait, it
just
comes-
glad, I'm
It
just
comes
glad
out
we had.
September 1st. You only have like 3 days to make money with
I
this.
am just glad we.
No, I know. I asked ChatGPT 3 times because it said, "Are you?" I actually said, "Are you sure?"
You don't have to listen
Equalizer
to it.
3 because it comes out so late. And don't forget, I actually said, don't forget the cutoff date, September. What was it, 8th or 3rd or something like that?
Labor Day Monday, right? Or Labor
Yeah,
Day
like
Tuesday.
Yeah,
September
I said-
3rd or 4th. Yeah.
Yeah, I
this comes
said
out
whatever
September 1st.
day.
You'll have one weekend with Equalizer 3.
Yeah, and I told that to ChatGPT. I said it ends like a week, and any earnings after that date do not count. And it said, "I understand. I still believe that Equalizer 3 belongs in the
All right.
number 10 slot." This is gonna
I-
be my Meg. This is gonna be my Meg.
No, it's not. But I just want to say I'm very thankful I invited 2 guests on the show for this. So,
No, this has been great fun.
so that we could at least have 3
Have we
serious.
just found out that the picks? Yeah, no, have we found out that ChatGPT is a Denzel stan? Is
That's
that...
right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I don't blame it.
Yeah,
What
let's
I'm
talk.
gonna look it up
yeah,
real quick. What did Equalizer 2 make in theaters? Because I didn't even
Only opening weekend. Just look up opening weekend. Don't
Yeah.
look up the whole run. Look up opening weekend domestic.
All right, so it made 102 total, and opening
Oh.
weekend
102 million total
Opening
opening
weekend was 36 million.
Okay, so $36 million. Let's be very clear about what Andrew is saying with his picks.
Yes.
That Little Mermaid
Yeah.
and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 will make less than $36 million total over the summer. Let's just be clear.
Nope.
I think Guardians has already made more than that in pre-sales.
I was going to say Guardians is going to clear that Thursday night alone.
I'm not buying it. I mean,
Amazing.
I
Oh,
see nothing wrong with this list. This-
Aaron, close this out. What do you have at the last?
This is
10
this, I would have made this exact same list. It's wild.
No.
Alice, we have the same 7, 8, 9, and 10. I have Rise of the Beasts at number 10 as well. I think it might squeak in there. I could swap this with any of my wild cards, and maybe not any of them. I could swap this with 2 of my wild cards and feel okay. But
this is also right on the cusp for me as well.
Yeah. So I think it'll sneak in that number 10 slot.
Aaron, I got a quick question here. It's about the way the point system works. So if no, honestly, I think I might understand what ChatGPT's logic is here.
Okay.
So say that I have a movie in the top 10, like let's say Oppenheimer comes in at number 10.
Okay.
In a crazy world, Oppenheimer becomes the number 1 movie.
Right.
How many points would I get if it was at 10, or if I put it at 10 and it was at number 1?
That would be 10 at number 1 would be what? 7,
Be
6,
off by
5,
9
4,
points.
3, 2. Well, you wouldn't get any points for that.
So you're saying that
No, you get 1 point if you get it in the top 10, right?
You should. I don't think I've made that clear.
I think
but
that might be why ChatGPT put some movies in the dark horse or whatever we're calling it,
The wild
because the wild card, because it's like
it's a guaranteed point.
They're guaranteed points, and I think that's why it put these movies like, spoiler alert,
then its
Guardians
logic
3, Little
chip is
Mermaid
off.
and stuff, because they're guaranteed points. So
That's
why
that's interesting.
I think that might be its logic.
Maybe.
Or
Cool logic.
it loves Denzel.
If
Loves Denzel.
Equalizer ends anywhere on this list, if it somehow outperforms any movie on
You
this
have to
list,
fly to the U.S. and be on a live show.
I
You
mean,
know,
I want to do that
I
anyway.
will just say
but-
here for those listening and just to make it official, because I didn't say it wouldn't be that way, but yes, officially, if you have a movie in your top 10 and it's in the top 10 somewhere, of course you're going to get the same amount of points you would as if you put it in a wild card. So you will
Okay.
at least get a point for those. So like if
Well, now you're changing the rules in Chat GPT.
I am
Doesn't
not.
have time
I am
to
not changing
evolve.
the rules. I never
No.
stated which way that would go. I am stating it now for the record.
That's how I understood it, for whatever that's
Oh
worth.
dear.
All right, so number 10's all through. So let's talk about our wild cards. What's your first wild card, Alice?
Mine's Oppenheimer because I do think it's going to perform. I just wasn't. It is literally like for me, it's a wild card where I'm like, it'll end up somewhere. I just don't know where. Like,
Do you think the
yeah.
war element to it has
No,
anything to
I
do
don't.
with?
I don't think it's the war element. Like I said, I think it's more. Or do you mean like to it as in it performing or it not performing?
Yeah, like because even though it is like it's an American movie about a guy who won World War II for the U.S. That's why I think what a lot of us are thinking, like,
But I
it's
mean,
going to make
you'd
a lot
have
of
to
movies.
know
That's gonna
going in. You'd have to know going in. It's not going to depict him as a hero, right? Like, you know, I feel like it's going to depict him as the villain. You know, like I'm destroyer of worlds sort of situation. And so I think that could potentially turn people off. I just think there's some stuff. There's enough artsy, maybe more like guilty elements of it, which could turn people off. But I also think it is Chris Nolan and the cast. The cast
Well,
list
the cast is ridiculous
insane.
for this film.
It's ridiculous. Like, so I think that could also be a huge.
Yeah,
win
but if
for
we're
it.
basing it on cast, why aren't we talking about Asteroid City? You know what I mean? Like the cast can only get you so far. There has to be some backing behind it.
There's no way around looking at anything Wes Anderson does and people having an automatic pretentious art house film like thought. I mean, we all know that Wes Anderson is much more than that, but
But he's never gonna break 120
Exactly.
million.
But also the
Exactly.
cast in Oppenheimer are like big box office cast. Like we got Robert Downey Jr., Matt Damon, Emily Blunt, Cillian Murphy, Florence Pugh, Alden Ehrenreich, Gary Oldman, Josh Hartnett, Jack Quaid, Rami Malek, Kenneth Branagh, Dane DeHaan, Tony Goldwyn, Casey Affleck. Like I keep being like, okay, I'll stop. But James D'Arcy, like it's insane, absolutely
It is
insane.
wild.
Are you saying Tom Hanks isn't a big box office cast, or
I think he can, but I just think Wes Anderson,
Scarlett
movies-
Johansson?
how much
Margot
money
Robbie?
how much money did Tom Hanks movies make this year or last year?
You
Man
know what?
Called Otto
Actually,
did pretty well.
the one, yeah, the one,
Auto, Man Called
yeah, that
Auto.
did really well. Man Called Auto did really well.
Oh.
I
was
think
just
it broke 100 domestically. I could be wrong.
It
Really?
stayed around for a while. It
Wow.
had really good legs.
Yeah.
okay.
All right, John. What's your first wild card pick?
This is where I threw Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. I think this will make around 110, 115 million. But this and my other few wild cards I have them all kind of just jockeying right around that 100 million mark. I think they'll just be above it, but not too much. And this is one of those franchises that has consistently made less money the last 3 or 4 entries. And I just feel like any goodwill the movies had from when Shia LaBeouf was in them, 2 decades ago, I think it's all burned out. And I don't know that people care anymore, but people will still go to see it. Even the worst Transformers movies will break $100 million. So that's what I have.
Yeah, totally. I'll go next. My first wild card is a movie we haven't talked about yet, but I think it's a sneaky dark horse. Haunted Mansion is my first wild card.
That's my next one. So there you go.
Well, let's talk
Look
about
at
it.
Yeah, I just think that there's just some Disney magic that can happen with this kind of stuff, and the cast looks fun. It looks quirky. There's,
It also
there's-
And you can't deny the success of movies based on Disney rides. It has that, but it also has the whole it came out in 2003 and a lot of us, like a lot of millennials, would have watched it as a kid and then might want to watch the reboot, you know?
Does this
Yeah.
have any connection to that other film? It was my understanding
No,
that it was just a completely new take.
I mean, none that I know
I mean, it's a new
of.
take, but it's got the same title, you know, like
Right.
that's
sorry.
the connection.
It does not have the same title. There's a "the" in the other one.
All right, well-
And then the other important thing to consider that we haven't talked a lot about is release dates. We have mentioned when they have competing openings, but Haunted Mansion comes out the end of July, and there's almost nothing else for younger demographics the
Correct.
entire month of August.
Mhm.
August is wide open for that kid and family demo, which is why I think this is a really solid pick for a
yeah,
wild card.
I genuinely think it could sneak into the 10 or 9 even.
It could. Absolutely.
If
And
things
if
go
it's
well.
good, like if it, because I think the concept's interesting enough, like it could be good. If it's good, I think it will ramp it up.
Yeah. Andrew, what's your first wild card pick?
Guardians 3.
Okay, sounds good.
I don't know.
I'm gonna score your list forwards and backwards and see which one wins.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume what you already figured out, Andrew, which is that ChatGPT did something with the math that sort of overvalued the wild card spots as your 1, 2, and 3. So if you have this at your 1 and you move everything else down 3 spots, everything on your list starts to make sense all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm going to just pretend that you said Guardians an hour ago at number 1.
Yeah.
Fast 10 you had at 4th place, which is I think a little bit more reasonable. Assuming that, I think that's a good pick for number 1.
Yeah. Beast Wars at 6 is still a little optimistic. Let's just say.
All right, we're back around. Alice, what's your
What's your
second?
number?
Well, I said Haunted Mansion,
Oh, that's
so
right.
we can
That's
skip
right.
skip ahead to John. Yeah.
Great. This is where I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, which comes out the week after in early August. And I think borrowing from your Meg maneuver from a few years ago, Aaron, I think this kind of has a lot of August to itself. And I think if word of mouth is good, this has been a huge property for our entire lives, at least Andrew and I. And I think this is the kind of thing that'll get older millennials like me to come out on a nostalgia trip, maybe bring our kids. I don't know. Ninja Turtles is just always kind of Prince money.
It also looks good. Like
It looks,
it looks
it looks
so
really
good.
neat. I think this
really
has a
good.
different style than the last couple we've seen.
And they're
with
doing
Michael Bay.
they're doing something that they've never done before.
having them actually be teenagers.
They're teenagers.
Yeah, they look like it. They sound like it. I think that's a really fun angle. And
Oh yeah, the kids
I
are.
think it'll make
the
around
kids
105,
voicing are like
maybe
12 and
110.
13 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John, I love how you said that's a fun angle, as if the title isn't literally Teenage Mutant
Yeah.
Ninja
but up until now, like where they
What a wild take.
up until now, though, they feel like in so many adaptations that they're just their age is so secondary to everything about their behavior. Though at least in the trailer, the turtles in this movie feel like kids. They act like Gen Zers, which I kind of love.
Andrew, your second wild card.
Little Mermaid.
Okay,
So
this all makes sense. This all makes perfect sense.
yeah,
Rearrange your list so that these are on the top and everything else makes sense.
can't do it. Can't do it. Sorry. I'm sorry, but I am adamant because I need the Equalizer 3 and Meg 2 to break the top 10 just so I can. Oh, it's going to be beautiful.
It's not
My wild card number 2 is Oppenheimer. It could do well. It could do well. It just seems like, I don't know. It just seems like it's missing something attractive about it. Like there's, it's going to have to be a lot of word of mouth, I think. Because
It's a Christopher Nolan movie.
the Nolan fanboys aren't enough. They just aren't. They just aren't enough. It has to appeal to a mass audience. So we'll see how that goes.
We haven't reviewed the entire list in like from a 10,000 foot view, but I have Oppenheimer above Fast 10 and Elemental. I think I have it higher than everybody. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a feeling this one could do really well.
Yep. All right, final wild card, Alice.
Okay, this is my other big swing, but I could see this be doing well, particularly on the let's all go watch a fun film. I've heard this is good crowd, which is The Blackening.
Oh,
I've never
Because-
even heard. This wasn't even on my radar. What is this?
It's basically like think like the same sort of vein as a Freaky or the other one that the Blumhouse about time, the Groundhog Day one that is Happy Death Day, like same sort of vein as like Happy Death Day and like and I just said it and it's already gone from my brain. Oh no, and Freaky, but it's basically like the tagline is, well, we can't all die first because it's a horror movie where the cast is all black. And so it's I think it's going to be like a Tucker and Dale also situation.
Yeah.
It's that fun horror comedy. You know, everybody knows the stereotype. Everybody like would easily laugh along with it. And I can just, if this is really good, like I think critically, if this is really good, I can just see a lot of people being like, oh, I love horror. I love comedy. I've heard this is really good. Let's just all go out and watch this, you know? So I can see this, especially if it comes out in the middle of it and in those dead weekends, it could potentially get an uptick.
I think this is a movie that could squeak into the top 10 if it legs out really long because it opens the same day as Elemental and The Flash.
Yeah, I don't think it's an opening weekend.
At best, it comes in third. I don't think it'll ever crack the top third, but it could ride third place, fourth place, fifth place for a month or two and do steady inroads in that sort of middle position. Yeah, that's a bit of a dark horse, no pun intended, pick.
John, what is your final wild card?
So when doing research, I discovered that for the last, I want to say 8 or 9 years, there's been one comedy film in the top 10 summer movies every year. And so far, except for The Blackening just now, we have not talked about any like straight comedies. I don't think the Barbie quite qualifies. So my last honorable mention wildcard is Joyride. This is the Asian-led road trip movie where this adopted Asian girl goes back to China to meet her parents or to find her biological parents. I saw a trailer for this last week and I was laughing my butt off. I think this is the kind of thing that could blow up like Crazy Rich Asians or Girls Trip. I think this will
this is Bridesmaids. This is Bridesmaids.
Right. This will find that like female audience that a lot of these other movies, quite frankly, Oppenheimer and The Flash and Dead Reckoning, a lot of women aren't going to see those, at least not in the same numbers as they might something like this. So a raunchy rated R comedy aimed at women with like a really nice, healthy, diverse cast. I think this could do
and two very popular cast members because you got Stephanie Hsu coming off the Everything Everywhere train, and then you've got Ashley Park who is in Emily in Paris, which is so popular. So those are two immediate like faces. People are gonna be like, oh, I like her, you know. So yeah.
This could do well, and I'm excited to see it. And I want to double check. This comes out on July 7th. And while Dead Reckoning comes out on that Wednesday, the only other movies on that July 7th are Insidious, The Red Door, and The Outlaws. And I just don't see those winning the weekend. So I think this could get off to a really good number one start that opening weekend, get out to like 30 or 40 million, and then just kind of hang around for a month. So this, I predict this will just land around 100 million even.
Good choice. I like that one. Andrew, what is your final choice for your wild card?
Final wild card I have is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah, it looks great. You're going to get a lot of families taking their kids to see it. Nickelodeon, man. Nickelodeon gets people. It gets people in. I mean, it's not Equalizer 3 or the Meg 2.
Also, apparently because Elemental wasn't on your list at all, was it?
No, I've never even heard of it. I mean, I don't waste time on indie properties, you know, just for
some no-name studio like Pixar.
Studios. Yeah, Pixar. Yeah.
So under John's theory, ChatGPT had TMNT third for the summer under John's theory.
That's a big
the theory falls apart.
a bit it does. Aaron, last but not least.
Guys, I could not abandon it after how much it meant to me. The Meg is my third wild card.
That's honestly, it's not a terrible pick. That opens in a very empty August, and I think that's going to appeal to a crowd that Haunted Mansion and Turtles don't. Especially since I'm pretty sure it's rated R, right?
I agree.
Oh yeah.
I agree.
That first Meg was
Jason Statham
really
coming back for this one?
Yeah, he is.
He is. Okay, well then if he didn't, I would have much more reservations. The fact that he is coming back,
I think
puts
he's
butts in
like
seats.
I think he's like one of the main producers of these movies.
Well, that's great. The original's
I'm
kind
not
of fun.
surprised.
I'll go see this.
Jason Statham dies?
Now that would be interesting.
There's
Wait,
one more movie I don't think anybody mentioned, which is Blue Beetle. That's
It
one of
comes
the
out
next.
way too late.
It comes out August 18th, so I don't think it'll have enough money to crack anybody's top 10. But I did want to mention it because it is a big DC property.
It'll have 3 weekends. I mean,
It could do well. By then, it might have enough time to make 60 or 70 million. Probably not enough to break into the top 10, but it's a big comic book movie, flashy character. Some people know.
It's starting off the new verse. Technically.
Yeah, right.
Is it though? Like, or is it actually part of the new planning, or is it just
period?
Yeah.
From what I read, this is like, if you're not counting the Flash, because that's the actual resetting point. This is the first movie that actually takes place within the new Gunverse, whatever you want to call it.
Also, is it me, or does the suit literally just look like Superman and Yellow Jacket had a baby? Like,
I was going to say, it just looks like Rescue.
movies.
It looks like
it just looks the face like. Oh
it's
my
whatever.
goodness.
Every one of these comic book movies looks the same now. I'm so over it.
Well,
I love Marvel,
I'm
but
giving
I'm just
them
also simultaneously over the entire genre.
I'm giving them credit. That is exactly what Blue Beetle looks like. So
That's something anyway. Was there any other movies that anybody?
I don't think
we haven't
so.
mentioned.
I think I mean, Insidious. Is it possible there's a horror movie that really takes off? Like,
typically those do best in January and February and maybe October. I don't think
I
July.
almost put Book Club The Next Chapter as a wild card because I can see getting literally all the other, like, it's that entire women, 50 and above crowd that aren't going to go see any, like, they're not going to go see Guardians. They're not going to go see anything like that.
Right.
So I could see him being like, oh, Book Club, I like that movie.
Yeah,
and then they all go see it together.
Sisterhood of the Traveling Books, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and then the other, I have 2 others that I considered. One was The Boogeyman, because it's been getting a lot of like internet buzz, like a lot, and people, a really good horror movie will get people out. But then the other one on the comedy train, as you were mentioning, John, is Strays, because that looks funny.
Strays might make some money. It's Will Ferrell pretending to be a dog.
Yeah, and it looks funny. Like the trailer looked funny. I could totally see people being like, "Dogs."
This could be Strays could be this year's Sausage Party. That's the kind of vibes I'm getting.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think that movie made a ton of money.
I thought that Sausage Party made a pretty decent chunk.
The other.
I'm not saying the movie was good by any means. I'm just saying it got butts and seats.
The other 2 I wanted to mention quickly were No Hard Feelings, this R-rated sex comedy with Jennifer Lawrence coming out in June.
I thought that was an Apple TV Plus release. Am I insane?
And the other one is Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken, which is DreamWorks' next big animated feature.
Oh.
And DreamWorks is hit or miss, right? Last year they had Puss in
CB's
Boots: The Last Wish, which did huge numbers. I think that ended up at like 200 million, but I don't think Teenage Kraken's going to do that, but it could be a surprise.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, there you go. There is at least our choices for the Summer Sum Game. Go get yours in if there's still time. Again, go to sifpop.com, click on Summer Sum Game. Before we head out, guys, let's do a quick buried treasure from everybody. Just something that you're watching that you want to let people know about. We'll go in reverse order and let our guests go last. So I'll kick us off. Of course, I'm watching Mrs. Davis. How could I not be watching Mrs. Davis? It is executive produced by Damon Lindelof, who I love. And the showrunner is a former writer and actually current writer for Young Sheldon, but former writer for Big Bang Theory, and is kind of based on an idea they came up with together. A seed of an idea from her that they then worked on together. And you can feel just the mystery and the interesting angles on spiritual ideas. And there is not to spoil too much, but there is an envisioning of Jesus Christ in this show that is so interesting to me, and I think would be interesting to anybody, whether you're a person of faith or not. It's a really fascinating look at the ideas of omniscience, the ideas of God, the ideas of AI, it's really, really interesting. Plus Betty Gilpin. I mean, come on, she's so good. And I forget the guy's name that's the main guy, but I think he
Jack
was in
McDormand.
Is that who it is? I think
Jack
he was
McDormand,
in
He was in the Limitless show.
Limitless. Yeah, it's the guy from the Limitless TV show who I
He was
also really
great.
liked.
I like him a lot in that.
So there are 5 episodes out already. They dropped the first 4 at once, and then there's been another one since then. I think there's only 8 in what I'm guessing is a first season, or maybe the full series. I don't know where they'll end up, but I know I am loving this show. So it's a huge recommend for me, and it's a Peacock original.
I
I
had not even heard of this, so thank you for putting it on my radar. I will think about checking it out.
Sure.
That's the best you can get.
Andrew, what did ChatGPT say you should recommend?
ChatGPT recommended a Netflix stand-up. If you guys haven't already, you guys really need to check out John Mulaney's Baby.
Oh my
Gay.
God, it's so
I'm going to watch it as soon as we're done recording.
I love John Mulaney so much.
It's wild how good it is. He's really,
my favorite.
And how raw it is, how
Me
honest
too.
it is.
Oh, it's brutally raw and honest.
You guys all just watched this yesterday? It just came out, right?
No, it came out like
days.
Did it? Okay, I thought it
Tuesday.
came out yesterday.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I stayed up till 3 a.m. just waiting because I knew what he was going to be talking about. He's going to be talking. The entire stand-up special is about his struggles and going into rehab and what that meant for him. And like Aaron said, it is brutally honest. It is he's not holding much back.
I think he worked some of it in his SNL monologue or somewhere. I had heard bits and pieces of it before, and I think it maybe was from his SNL monologue. But yeah, it's really
so
really good.
It is really good. He is one of my favorite stand-ups right now. I'm glad he's doing better. And because one of the parts he was talking about mainly during the stand-up is he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to do this without the drugs and stuff, because he was like, he felt like he relied on it. If he did this sober, it's one of his best stand-ups. He can do it. So it's just great comedy, and because it's real too.
I love him. I am excited to watch this. I did not need a recommendation, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those buried treasure, not really buried treasures sort of a thing.
It's also interesting to see how the tone has shifted between his last stand-up and this one because of the lack thereof of drugs, which he does call out at the beginning, which I literally had never even thought about until I was like, oh, that makes sense. And so, but it's still he's still John Mulaney, it's still all there. It's great.
I will say there's one part of it that I know a lot of people loved, but I hate cringe humor. And it's the very end when he's reading that GQ article.
Oh, I thought that was so funny.
I know it's funny, but I'm one of those people who I get uncomfortable in those awkward, and just him having to read something that's obviously really cringy to him.
I found it afterwards and I read the whole thing. Oh, it's just
Is it
chaos.
worth reading the whole thing?
It's chaos. It is chaos. If you can't handle the cringe in the show, Andrew, maybe not.
No, it was just that one part, and it's one of those. I know it's a very me thing. Yeah. So yeah.
John, what's your buried treasure?
I'm going to give a shout out to a fellow YouTuber by the name of Dan Murrell, former member of Screen Junkies, who does one of my favorite weekly routines, which is Charts with Dan. Every Tuesday, he breaks down box office totals. So if you enjoyed this 100-minute episode of Sif Pop where we just went through all the prognosticating of box office, Dan does the same thing, but he backs it up with years of experience and knowledge, and he breaks out all the charts. He does profit breakdowns, flashes back to years past, adjustments for inflation, and kind of compares how movies and franchises have done compared to each other. I love crunching numbers and going through charts, and his YouTube channel, which has a lot of great reviews and news, but his box office video every Tuesday is appointment viewing for me, and can't recommend him enough. He is a Dan Mural on YouTube, and he is great if you love following box office news.
I mean, it doesn't sound that impressive. You can just get a Chat GPT algorithm to tell you all these box office numbers.
A quick sell for Dan. Last year, he got 10 for 10 on his summer prediction. Not 10 in the same spot, but all 10 of his picks in the top 10. And that would be that's impressive if anybody does it on this call, certainly.
Yep.
Dan Mural Movies is the address.
All right, Alice, what is your buried treasure?
Yeah, so mine was spoiled a little bit earlier, but I am watching and thoroughly enjoying Ted Lasso season 3. Similar to Andrew, it's not really a buried treasure, but like, I don't know. I really loved season 1. I enjoyed season 2, but I just think season 3 and the most recent episode in particular has been perfection. I love every single one of the characters. I think it's so interesting what they're doing, and I keep being like, wait, how are they doing all this? Like, how many episodes do they have to wrap this up, with it being the final season and everything? But oh my goodness, it is just so good. I love Roy, especially now I'm paying more attention to Roy with him being Hercules and everything in Marvel soon. So I'm more like, oh, let's pay more attention to his abilities. And I think they've included more of Trent Krim and other characters, and introduced new ones who are actually very interesting to watch. And the most recent one focused on Sam a little bit more. And I saw this reaction about it, which was perfect, which was like, every episode of Ted Lasso, I am laughing my head off and crying my eyes out, because you'll be like, that is hilarious. And then you'll be like, that is so beautiful. And so, yeah, I am so excited, but I'm really excited to see the end, but I'm also sad to see the end.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
The Amsterdam episode, I think, is the best episode that Ted Lasso ever did. I do love the latest one with Sam and his dad's restaurant and everything. Like, that was beautiful. Absolutely loved it. But there was just like, it never dropped below fourth gear of amazingness. That Amsterdam episode is so good.
And I love how this season's really bringing the whole like the soccer team element into it. Like, they're not just the like random extras in the background. Like, I'm really feeling this camaraderie coming through, which is really nice.
I think we're gonna get a surprise fourth season. Because they're doing this whole thing, and spoilers, I guess, but they're doing this whole thing with Trent Krim. He's like, oh, so the first step of your plan is this, and the second step, and the third step. And we haven't found out what the fourth step is. Well, if you look at all these steps he's mentioning, each of them is relevant to what that season accomplished.
I think it's obvious what number 4 is going to be.
Final or done.
No,
finished.
I mean, I don't want to say, because I don't want to potentially spoil it. But let's just say it's a word.
Dead?
Was dead.
Hang on. But it's like, I think that it's a word we've heard before.
Does it start with a B?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
That'd
we
be
will
good.
just leave that there. So, yeah.
Is it
Ted
Clear
Lasso's-
Eyes, Full Hearts Can't Lose?
Yes, that's the one. Ted Lasso is great. I back up that recommendation on Apple TV Plus. Dan Mural, also great. Check him out on YouTube. John Mulaney, also great. Baby J is on Netflix, and Mrs. Davis is also great. What a great group of recommends.
On Peacock.
On Peacock. Peacock original. Well, we did it, guys. We put our best effort into predicting the box office for summer 2023. 75% of us put in our best effort at predicting the box office of 2023.
Yeah, Alice, step up your game.
Congratulations to us all. Thank you so much for joining us today for Sif Pop. It is part of the Studio DNA Podcast Network. You can find out more about other shows on the network at studiodna.media or by searching Studio DNA in your podcast player. Huge thanks to Andrew for hanging out today.
Not a bot.
Huge thanks to producer Phil for producing the audio and video show.
Thanks, Phil.
Thanks to John Paula for coming in and playing with us today. Where would you like to send people, John?
Letterboxed, as always, JONPAULA. I caught up on all of my backlogging today, added like 70 movies that I had not logged over the last couple months, and wrote a whole bunch of reviews. So if you'd like to hear my thoughts on a whole bunch of stuff, just head over there and give me some follows and some likes and engagement and make me feel good about my decisions. Thank you. Have a great night.
It is a place where I honestly feel like if they would add 2, maybe 3 social interaction abilities on Letterboxd,
Like a like or a heart, you mean,
well,
stuff like that?
Just there's just a couple, and
Yeah.
I may never visit Twitter again. Like I would just live on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
It's just it's a really cool, and I do at least a little review for every single new movie I see. So
I've been trying to get better at writing at least something.
Mhm.
I watched Ghosted last night, and I didn't have a lot of strong thoughts. But let me just start writing, and I ended up writing like 200 words about it. It's like, that's fine.
Yeah,
10
I
years
usually
from
do
now,
a
when I
paragraph or
complete-
two. I usually just do a paragraph or two, and it's actually really nice, not just on a social level, but it's also nice on a like
A
3
journaling
years
level.
from now. If I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man, I remember I kind of felt this way about this movie, and then you go
It's
back
great
and
as
you
a
can just see
journal.
your fresh thoughts on stuff when you saw them.
I primarily write for myself. I don't care. I'd be great if everybody wanted to go give me a follow and
Yeah.
interact and leave replies, but I primarily do it for myself. My memory's not great, so I just write everything down and rate everything and
Yep.
keep track of it all.
And thank you to Alice for hanging out with
Yeah.
us again today. Where do you want to send people, Alice?
Yeah, so I mean, you can find me on all socials like TikTok and Instagram and Letterboxd at Ali G Mick, MICH. So I'm across all those, and on TikTok, I'm currently I've got a list. I've made a movie backlog list, a list of shame, if you will, and I'm slowly making my way through it. Most recently, I watched A Clockwork Orange, and I'm just like recording my thoughts afterwards and popping it up there as again a little video journal of it. But otherwise, I also have the YouTube channel I'm doing with my friend where we recently reviewed a retrospective for Heartstopper, which has, it's a fun little video, and it's at Clean Slate Reviews on YouTube. So head on over there. Otherwise, all of that aside, I'm also a writer for SifPop.com. Most recently reviewed Mario. And
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it was an interesting one to write, that's for sure.
So check all that out for Alice. Also, much love and gratitude to our Sif Pop members. Thank you so much for making Sif Pop a real thing. We have a lot of fun doing our bonus content for you guys, and it's humbling that you would even go check it out. That is at patreon.com/siftpop. Patreon.com/siftpop is where you do that. Lots of other ways to connect with us. Feel free to leave a comment, a rating, or a review, whether you listen at Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen. You can do that. You can also email us, feedback@siftpop.com. And finally, if you are having a good time, your movie-loving friends will probably like the show too. So let them know about it, and that listening is much easier than The Equalizer getting anywhere near the top 10 this summer. We'll be back.
Bill, you're fired. Stop.
We'll be back next week with Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and more.
Never heard of it.
ChatGPT didn't.
Thank you guys. Thanks for watching live. Good to see the chat out there. Skaklego, the one Heath Bar, Jay Bourgeois, producer Phil also hanging out in the chat. It's always fun to read your comments as we go live.
Yeah.
We did a mega recording, and a little later than we were planning, so we're gonna go ahead and head out. But we always appreciate you guys watching live too. So thanks for doing that.